Hello, my name is Joe. I've been making videos for about 10 years. Usually they're about medicine and politics. Uh, my opinion is, not that welcomed in all these platforms. I even got shadow banned on BitChute. But this video is for my Facebook friends. I see I got 1,500 of you out there. Or if y'all showed up at one time, maybe something. Anywho, this video is not about those subjects. It is about surviving in a crazy world and maintaining some semblance of being who you want to be and not be the fearful person that you may be. Now, how could I say this? I'm the product of an ill-spent youth, I'm sorry to say. And at one time, I had the social graces of a caged animal. Hate to admit that as well. But my point is, I wasn't always the refined gentleman that you're going to be today, okay? And in 71 years of life, I've learned a few things. And I'm still here. I thought I would share them with you folks. I've been treated well on Facebook. A lot of interesting conversations, to say the least. So this video is specifically for you Facebook friends of mine. When you read, I used to think, by the way, I don't read off a script, okay? Never understood it. I could probably appear more intelligent than what I really am if I was script beneath, but that has an appeal, but no, I'm not going to do that. I seen a lady in court the other day. She was reading off a piece of paper. It was a victim impact statement. And I said, do you really have to read off a piece of paper how the loss of your brother through murder affected you? People in politics, they're so afraid of saying the truth, they always read off a script. But I often thought when I was younger, wouldn't it be nice if your birth certificate came with the owner's manual that you could look in there and figure out life or maybe the basic points? Well, in a way, now you can. It's called neuroscience. Right? Neuroscience, like my buddies Joe Dispenza and Bruce Lipton and Dr. Sinclair, and many others in the neuroscience field, said that 95% of what you did today, you're going to do tomorrow. That the subconscious mind has programming. The genesis of that programming was third trimester to the 7th year of life. Hard to believe that 2,000 years ago there were esoteric sects and priests and whatever that knew that. How they do it, we don't know, but they did. So if I'm being run by my subconscious mind, I better learn what the hell it is and why I should be more cognizant of it. This journey for me started about 5 years ago, maybe 6. And the more I read and the more I studied, digested, and internalized these concepts, the more flabbergasted I got. Like, am I really moving like a puppet? Does the subconscious mind load a program in the morning and I'm just like, the puppet on a string here? The idea was kind of terrifying, but it was also very interesting to say the least. I now recognize, since I have put up a conscious alert system to this type of habitual thinking and programming, once you start looking for it, it's amazing. It's almost omnipresent. You didn't realize that this programming from the subconscious mind has built invisible bars for you to live in confinement, a confinement into your past, like cognitive dissonance or dissonance, or how you want to pronounce it. You do not know the difference. I mean, most people will offhandedly reject any information that is not in direct line with their present belief system or their past experience. Try to turn a Hindu into a Baptist. lots of luck with that one. So from the third trimester to the 7th year of life, these programs are really in there like they say they are. And you got to trust, these guys a little bit. They sleep in their lab coats, if that gives you any idea. Okay, so 95%, I'm kind of a robot. Well, is that robot paying me off? Am I a happy-go-lucky guy, loving life, feeling the joy of existence, being one with the universe and all that? Well, maybe not so much. As to why not? Because there was a time I'd be unhappy about something, and I would go, okay, being unhappy, what's that benefit me? Uh, but more to the point about the subconscious program. For example, you're trying to do something, and for whatever reason, it seems to be kind of fighting you. You know what I mean? Kind of, you really can't dial in into the zone there, get into the flow. Well, perhaps your subconscious mind and your past experiences don't support that. People will ask me sometimes, well, how can I tell my future? Well, two ways. Look at your friends and family. That's what you're programmed to do. And also, there is a way of looking at things through a different eyes. That's the crazy part. I want to build a $3 million mansion. Okay, I'm short about $2,600,000. But it was amazing though. About 3 years ago, I set that goal, and I just opened a company, doing great. I'll probably get there. But anyway, the the bullshit that came out of my own mind. Oh no, you'll never get a mansion. Your friends don't have mansions. You wasn't raised in a mansion. Forget that shit. Quit stroking yourself. It's bullshit. And I went, where did all that come from? Where the hell why can't I have a mansion? Right? I just need the money. Uh, so, I started an internet marketing company, and it really blew up and doing it really well. I suggest you folks use AI in your business. But early on in my life, I did things that were completely contrary to any intellectual idea or semblance of rationale in my behavior. I drank and I rolled cars through the intersections, and that was the highlight of my week, right? And why was I doing that? Is that what, Joe Dispenza has this great thing called Think, Act, Feel. In the last couple of years, it's really helped me put a perspective in order and some kind of reasonable control on habitual thinking that would otherwise lead me into non-productive areas, right? It's think, act, feel. So, at the end of the day, you could say to yourself, is that really the way I wanted to think? Is that the way I really wanted to feel? Did I represent the best image of me today? And then I always end my day with these three questions. What I did today will make me healthier, wealthier, or wiser. Healthier, wealthier, wiser. If you didn't say yes to at least two of those, you might be wasting your time. So the point I'm trying to get across is I'm a nutritionist. I've been studying medicine for about 15 years, find it fascinating. And everybody knows about magnesium and vitamin C and all these things. I want to try to bring to your attention some things you may not be aware of. I think we're all aware of that. There's millions of videos about those. So along with mental health, you got to have physical health. I've never seen somebody in pain that was too happy. So your physical self is based on nutrition. That's where the health comes from. Just like in your mind, when you recognize what is the true control mechanism or method of action in your brain and in your body, knowing that how you think, there's a good place to jump to. What you think, your thoughts, they have a biological and physiological effect. I think they have influence on gene expression, on mating levels. I do believe that once you have a negative thought, free-floating anxiety, anger, all that, about 1,000 anti-life chemicals just poison the 50 trillion cells that make you up. But conversely, if you're happy and you feel love and appreciation and gratitude for your life, you enjoy your life, and it's a gas to be here, that type of thing, and you don't let the idiots in the world bring you down. When you get those two working together, you'll feel reborn. You'll feel like, why the hell did I feel like that anyway? I never made that decision to respond that way. Good example. A couple days ago, I'm talking to my sister-in-law, a 76-year-old lady who is a churchgoer, nice woman. I like her a lot. She's family, right? But she spilled a drink and she screamed out, "Son of a bitch." Now, that was a triggered response from an old way of thought pattern, just like pulling a trigger. I know that she go, well, let's see, I spilled my drink. Maybe I should yell, "Son of a bitch," at the loud, No. I'm going to warn you, though. You get down this rabbit hole, it could be a little shaky. Okay, when you realize that how much of what you're doing is not what you want to do, but what you're programmed to do. It's like being, how many happy people do you know except me? Unhappiness just seems to permeate the society, and why not? The mind and heart and soul is being poisoned by all these psychopaths, pedophiles, and all that. Like I said, that's for another video. So there used to be a guy named Mastro, great guy, highest rank gung fu guy in the country. He said, "Joe," he said, "imagine that the human lifespan's 100,000 years. There's more, but we'll say right now." He said, "If you leave other men's wives alone and don't mess with me, you might get 80. 100,000, 80. So he said, you got to pull a perspective that there is no future, there is no past, there's only now. And I got behind that a long time ago. Is NFF, I remember. There was this old Chinese guy that hung with him, told me one day, he goes, "Man," he said, "you'll always find it disappointing when you finally realize that you must give up your expectations rather than build on the bias of preconceptions, for those are truly illusions of desire with no pragmatic validity in reality." Wow, that's a mouthful. He also said if a dog could talk, one thing he'd never say is, "What'd you say?" He may not know why he walked in the room, but that dog, he knows you're there. So in this crazy world, there is so much going on that's negative. Even the positive things aren't mentioned because they sell fear. That's why I haven't watched TV in 7 years. Right? Not long, but bullshit. So when you understand that you are not a special entity in this life, in this universe, I personally thought that Joe was just a special kind of guy, right? But then I joined the human race a long time ago. And what do I mean by that? Well, I'm glad you understand. There are billions of people on this planet. 1 billion right now are starving. I've had porterhouse steak 3 times this week. Follow my drift here? Millions, and hundreds of millions are in such pain it would drive me to suicide before I finish this video. For me to have a bad day, and let's admit it, most people who have a bad day are really feeling sorry for themselves. Okay, but who wants to claim authorship to that? I know I don't. But to do so, I would have to say I'm going to discount the death and suffering of billions of people because I'm so special. All right? I'm a special kind of guy. No, I'm a member of the human race, and I'm one of the luckiest people. Now, if you're my age, there's something we got in common that will give you a lot of solace. I personally was born at the best time in the best country to the best people in human history. I could drop dead right now and don't give a shit. I mean, I'm a lucky guy. Sometimes I can't believe how lucky I am. But I didn't start that way. Okay? So as you go through life, I don't usually quote George Foreman. Like the guy, but I don't usually quote him. He said, if you're the same person you were at 50 that you were at 30, you wasted about 20 years, right? So as the days go by, and with that 100,000 year thing, what I was talking about is if you look left and right and get a perspective of what's happening, really, you know, that's why I have this behind me, because this is where we live. You know? My name ain't Joe in Myrtle Beach. I'm a sentient being experiencing the experience of an infinite universe. What I'm trying to share with you is how to free yourself from yourself. I, how can I put that better? If you want something that you've never had, you've got to do something you've never done. But moreover, you got to be somebody different than what you are. I had a manager some years back that helped me. The old Joe has got to go, right? So when I'd have certain emotions, I'd go, oh, that's old Joe. Old Joe, you know, he's not all that bright. So let's put him to the side for a while. So let the old go, Joe. So you need to become somebody that you are not right now. Now, how do you do that? Right? I'm talking mental health. Only three ways I know how to do it. Hypnotherapist, you know, so inclined. Repetition, like think, I feel. Trust me, if you through the day say, think, I feel. If you're in, you know, getting upset or whatever, you say, is that really me getting upset over this external stimuli, or is that a conditioned program that just, you know, triggered? Uh, Certain times when I couldn't configure certain software, I get a little frustrated, to say the least. And years ago, maybe, you know, I said, well, wait a minute. You're actually being frustrated over like Windows 98. I mean, no, yeah, it's been a long time ago. But when I first got the computers, it was incredibly ridiculous, uh, difficult. Okay, but I got it. And I said, what good does that do me? And moreover, think, I feel it. Did I sit back and say, you know what, that pesky software is giving me a problem, right? Hey, I know what I should do. I should get frustrated and send off a flaming email to Microsoft, uh, complaining about using me as a troubleshooter for this crappy software. But you have to also forgive yourself for being you, right? Like I tell people, hey, you and I got something in common. We can only be who we are. But it doesn't mean we can't evolve. Let information become transformation. I've done it in my life. Uh, I've never been so happy in my life. I'm talking years now. Okay, I get up every morning and I'm jazzed, man. You know, what is it? There's two kinds of people: those who see life as a problem and set out to solve it, and those who see it as an adventure and set out to live it. You know, the latter appeals to me. Plus, they're brave. Okay, I don't mean to, be negative here, but we all have to leave. No matter if you're 100 or 120, I don't care when you die. You gotta die, right? So you know what they're going to be saying about me in 100 years? I've been dead about 82 years. When you get that perspective, I drive by a graveyard. You know what I see? You probably go ahead. God knows what you see, Joe. Uh, I see the people standing up in front of their own gravestones, going, "Wake up!" Okay, whatever your problem is, unless it's a federal indictment or a tumor on your spine, wake up and understand that the very moment you're living, you've got no problem. There was a story, English story, somebody, ye be pauper, ye be king, the garden of stone is at your end. Dr. Sinclair has a test. I think it's a methylated DNA test. One to give you your true biological age, and the other one to tell you your death date within 12 months. Things are getting spooky. So when you get up in the morning, I had this little head trick. I think I've died and was resurrected again. I know that sounds nuts. I go to sleep. I know people who've died in their sleep. My mother died in her sleep. So there's no guarantee I'm going to get up. Not really. So when I go to sleep, fingers crossed, and when I get up, I go, man, what are we going to do today? Okay, what's the big bad universe going to throw at me? Right? You have to have that joy of life. I know it sounds crazy in this time. I never have seen so many depressed people in my life, and angry, and afraid. What John Hopkins Hospital, 20% of everybody you meet is on some kind of psychotropic drug because they've got a diagnosable psychiatric condition. Is that really possible? How can you forget you're alive? I'm 71, and nearly everybody I know has died in their 60s. I often say the best thing about being 71, I didn't die when I was 70. I know that no matter, I made a list. There was 35 names on that list. People I had no family, but people I worked with and knew who had died, more or less. I bet each and every one of them would give anything to be standing here next to me today. And if they were, and I told them I was upset about taxes or some damn thing, they'd probably just slap me and say, "Hey, man, wake up. I just jumped out of the grave." Okay, what are you talking about? So when you get up in the morning, it's like the subconscious mind trying to put in that disc, load you into that disc. And boy, you get up, you do this. We all have our routines. I got mine, but I try to be mindful all the time. The idea of being running around like a damn robot is repellent to me. I'd like to, but it makes sense now. Things that I did in my past were absolutely self-destructive and self-sabotaging, and I can't even get into that. But what was that all about? Did I really say think, act, feel when I was in my late 20s, early 30s? You know what I think? I think I'd go out tonight and drink myself into a blackout. And when I wake up in jail the next day, well, I'll feel better since I didn't wreck the car or some shit. Craziness. Craziness. I didn't come up with that. I don't know how I got programmed to wreck, 52 Pontiacs, but I did. So when you look back on your life, yeah, you look back, but if you're looking back at your life, you're living in the past. Be defined by memories, pleasant ones, of the future. what's the vendor called it? Some kind of field, the quantum field. Because now they have a device that can measure your thoughts, a few feet from your head, which means your thoughts aren't always in your head, which is kind of crazy. How's he put it? What you pay your attention to is where you send your power. So if I get up in the morning and the first thing I'm doing is worrying about my problems, where's my attention? Yeah, attention's to the problem. And now I got a problem. I got a problem. Even before I wake up, I got a problem. But what is the problem? Something your subconscious mind is screwing with you, trying to accomplish something to make that problem disappear, like money. Money is a great healer. They say money, what is it, money don't buy you happiness? Bullshit. Nah, I'm happy. Anyway, no. So people say, well, you meditate. I don't think I have to sit and think of nothing to meditate. I think I can take an intellectual, rational assessment of the intellectual diagrams that come from neuroscience and psychodynamics of human behavior and all that. Yeah, they're just pages on a book, but you have to put them in your subconscious mind because you can read into your, every book. But you won't change you fundamentally because the conscious mind, it had like 400 bits processing per second. The subconscious mind is like 400 billion bits, or it's something insane. It's something insane. So the subconscious mind is very, very powerful, but you have to know how to harness it. Like I said, there's three ways, right? Psychotherapist, or you repeat a mantra. That's why the monks, they're all that. The key in. What I do, and have been doing for years, if I need to modify something, like I'm trying to do something, and I think I'm running into a little bit more, problems than I should, I put in earplugs at night. Now I put them in my own voice, but I do use other people's pro affirmation, theta wave, sleep training, the Psych K and all that, super learning. I've been told you can learn Spanish in your sleep through your subconscious mind. I haven't done that. What I've done is try to structure my mind in ways that if I find here's a good example. I said, okay, I do this, and that, and I'll make a bunch of money. But why didn't I also get that elevated emotion, like, hey, I want to make a lot of money? Yeah. It didn't happen. Why not? I don't know. This was years ago, okay? And I'm thinking, well, wait a minute. That intellectual dot connecting I just did to come to this result, that's the algorithm there. I should be like I just hit the lottery, right? No, because at that time, the subconscious mind could not relate to Joe doing that well. I never seen any of my friends do that well. My parents didn't do that well. And you got to read the book Rich Man, Poor Man. That's a good book. So if I wasn't trained to do it, and I am the result of all the memories, all the things I've done up to this point, have I made any headway? And in my case, I'm glad to say I did. Just a lot of things I didn't like the way I would think, and somehow I sabotaged myself, or my subconscious mind sabotaged me, in not being able to feel the true excitement of being alive. Think about it. You know anybody really jazzed to be alive? I mean, when you see them, you know, talk about it. Okay, I haven't go see many of them people. But who I am now is so different from who I was just a decade ago. And that itself is the juice, okay? Whatever you think about what I'm saying, understand that I believe, if you believe in yourself, I know that sounds like Tony Robbins bullshit, but think to yourself, hey, I'm unique. Okay? There's no animal here that can use a Texas Instrument but me. And in all of the universe, and even if the aliens are there, which I think they probably are, probably running the country, as far as I know. At least I'd like to think so. You have to have self-image. And the self-image that you have, like the subconscious mind is like a good Goomba, a good guy. He'll do whatever you tell it to do if you tell it to him in his own language, which is the theta wave. But he's also a maniac. Those two minds there. The subconscious mind, if I said, I want to be a serial killer, and that was the conscious thing, and the subconscious mind, number one, doesn't know the difference between real and imagined stimuli, and most of the brain, same way. So you got to be careful what you put in there. But if you put in there, for example, one of mine is, I am in perfect health. Number one, the universe doesn't take no checks. It doesn't. Hold on, my camera's moving. Poltergeist. Poltergeist. There we go. So I see the young people. If you're a young person, you got my sympathies. You're swimming upstream in this society today. But don't allow the external chaos. Yes, you have to be cognizant of it. You have to have an understanding of how it might affect your life and how you need to prepare for any eventuality that you see this or that trend coming to you that may affect you and your family. But then it's got to stop there, man. Okay, man, whoever. By the way, I don't believe in trans, so male and female, that's it. There are just many forms of mental illness. But you say to yourself, am I going to give myself into fear? Am I going to let anybody or anything rob me of the joy of my life? I can't feel the joy of life, the excitement of life, and to actually give up on that shit. You know? I mean, I remember I'd get up, and the first thing I did, I knocked back a Colt 45 without even taking a breath, and then another one, right? And boy, it was off, let's get drunk and be somebody. I mean, wow, what a deep philosophical platform to operate on, you know what I mean? Yo, Joe, what are you doing? I'm getting drunk. I'm going to be somebody today. Right? So no matter what you've done, to a point, or experienced, it doesn't have to be that way now. If you look at your past, okay, there's a 15-year-old kid made $500,000 this year. You know why? Because he got no baggies, he got no, you can't do it and you won't work and all that bullshit that you gather after 50, 60 years of life. And I've studied this kid like an alien. Right? It's Snapchat. Look into it. People are making tons. I'm going to move some of my enterprises on Snapchat. That's no. Okay. Don't allow. Master Long called it the theater of your life. He said, you got your blinders on, right? You're not thinking about, hundred thousands of years out here. You're thinking just right there because that's where you are. But if you were to take those blinders off and look up and down the road, the perspective that you would gain is just how brief your experience is going to be. Because I know on the last day of my life, I'm going to go, damn. Oh good, the guy got real big and fat. Marlon Brando. I loved him. Marlon Brando, they asked him, this says, when you draw your last breath, what do you think you'll be thinking? He said, I know, I've thought about this. He said, when I hear my heart slowly stopping, I'm going to think to myself, what the fuck was all that about? Right? Well, don't wait till your deathbed to get a perspective that might put a little pep in your step today. Right? You are what you think you are, and man, if you ain't, you will be if you think you are long enough. Once the subconscious mind, in my understanding, has a main purpose of trying to put into material realist in your reality the program. Programming is your dad told you when you was a kid, uh, little Bobby, you'll never amount to anything, so I'm gonna nickname you Zero. I don't mean bastard. Well, what might have been a small humorism at the time might really cause some trouble later on, because that's what the kid's been programmed to do. I don't think any of us enjoy uh, dissembling our psyche, our personality. Because how you think and how you act and how you feel, that's your personality. And your personality is the architect of your reality. This house I'm sitting in, it was part of my reality. Uh, but now I want a mansion. Yeah, it's a nice house. Got the porches and this two-story nice house. But I think outside of my environment, now this is something that you might really want to think about. Environment is a lot, right? If you were born in some crazy third world country, you'd be some crazy third world Yahoo, right? Yahoo. Two brands, Yahoo and Yahoo. So the social, geographical, educational, parental conditioning that you have in the third trimester, seventh year of life, were just unbelievably important. So as an adult, it's hard to internalize the concept that a problem of a personal emotional sabotaging your own life comes from a programming that you didn't even put in there. You didn't agree to it. You didn't author it, right? And you don't know, what was it? I think it was Dr. Sinclair said the subconscious mind can process like 400 billion actions, 100 bits of action. It's incredible. Where the conscious mind can only do like 400 bits action. So the subconscious mind, it's odd to think that you have two brains. You got your frontal lobe, your mammalian brain, reptile brain, all that. But it's true. And if you don't acknowledge that, then it's everything. Like they said, by the age 35 years old on model, you're done. You're, you know, you are etched in stone. Well, I'm so different from the man I was at 35, you wouldn't believe it. This whole video is for one reason. I want to share with you some things I think might help you. It may not, I don't know. I'm not the burning bush. But they've helped me so tremendously develop emotionally, financially, intellectually. Uh, it's amazing though. I mean, I don't know anyone who is happy as myself. Moreover, I run into people and man, it's just shovel that shit. Or, oh, woe is me. What do I do? Okay. Now, crazy world that we live in. Master Ong would say nobody has ever lived in utopia. He said, think about it. He said, 2,000 years ago, Brutus went home to his wife Athena. And she said, oh, yo, man, what's going on, Brutus? You look like you got a turd in your pocket. And he goes, you know what that Caligula did, the Emperor of Rome? He said, he's not psychotic. He's God Almighty himself. And now that he realizes this, things are going to go better. And he's this close to making his horse emperor. Once again, if you get trapped by the theater of your life, that's all you think about. Oh, I don't know, in the last 7 or 8 years, it seems like politics, we went from a country that just didn't really didn't matter much, right? We knew that, how do I get into that? Anyway, don't allow these outside internal forces take the life out of you. Because if they put you in a fear, that's a fear and flight response. If you're afraid of the boogeyman, you're afraid of this, afraid of that, oh my God, that's where you're sending your attention, right? That's what you're thinking about. Well, that's where you send your power. You really want to send your power to something that's not beneficial for you and your family? And why would you do it? Because you're programmed to do it. I swear, I've met people, it seems like they weren't happy unless they were unhappy. It just relished a night at the opera. And there's some indication that those emotions bring about certain chemicals that they like for some reason. All right. There's one. Getting old, forgetful. Oh, I remember what it was. Here's two things for your health that you might be not aware of. One's called methylene blue. METHYLENE blue. It's been around for 120 years. It started off as a dye for a textile industry. Second, it was used in the lab to stain certain bacterium where the electron microscope could define their parameters better. But then you come up with USB, which is pharmaceutical grade 99.9%. I get mine from sacredpurity.com out of Thailand. And so far it's got through customs every time. Methylene blue is the only drug I take. I wouldn't take pharmaceutical drugs for any reason. Don't believe them, don't eat them. But methylene blue has a very bizarre, to my mind, because I've studied medicine many years. I've never ever heard of a drug that would be an electron donor to the electron transport chain in the mitochondria. The mitochondria, okay, you may know from high school biology, is the little powerhouses. You got complex 1, 2, 3, and 4. And the electrons go down that path to what's called an adenosine triphosphate synapses. And ATP is the energy of life, right? That's what gives you energy. So the more ATP you got, the better. And somehow it also savages electrons where they're needed. Right now, methylene blue is the #1 treatment for dementia, Alzheimer's, frontal lobe dysfunction, closed head injury, things of this nature. I buy 1 gram powder, which will make 100 milliliters of a 1% solution. I take triple zero caps and an eyedropper. Be careful, you get this on you, it's going to be a while. And put it in a capsule, and that way I don't, my mouth doesn't look like I'm a Smurf because it's a dye. The only trippy thing about it is that it'll turn your color of your urine into aquamarine. So if you do this, I suggest you do, don't freak out on that. You've been forewarned, right? It also is an MAO inhibitor, just like SSRIs. The people get depressed and they take MAO inhibitors. Well, this is a natural MAO inhibitor. And some people who have said they were depressed and had free-floating anxiety after just a few days on methylene blue, surprisingly and fortunately, that condition disappeared for them. Now, I bring that up because that's something you may not have heard of. The other one, where are they? Here we go. These are bitter apricot kernels, not roasted. You don't want anything roasted. Okay, got them right there. I think that was like $25. there is a theory of cancer called tropoplastic cancer. There's a very famous book called World Without Cancer by Edward Griffin. The guy's got a great voice anyway. And the theory is this, that cancer cells, the oncogene, are coated by a tropoplast coating. The tropoplast coating makes the cancer cell more or less in stealth mode when it comes to macrophages, T cell, killer cells, the immune system that comes in and gets it. The fetus has tropoplast cells, and that's because the fetus needs to grow in the uterus, and it's just a tropoplast is a normal element of the body. That's why the immune system sees it on the cancer cell and goes, well, it's tropoplast, There's some people that believe that a cancer tumor is just a misplaced placenta, right? But no need to go that deep in those. But here's what happens. Here's the cancer cell, and it's got the tropoplast coating. Now, I believe it has a negative charge, and the immune system has a positive charge, so that's another problem. But when you take these apricot kernels, which were found to be the common denominator between three societies, particularly the Hunza, who else? Somebody else. Somebody in Peru, I think. Anyway, they all digested apricots a lot. I mean, matter of fact, in one of the countries, your wealth was based on how many apricot trees you had. So the scientists, I think it was Stanford, went up there, and they go, okay, what in the world is going on here? If you eat apricot seeds, eat apricots and seeds, or kernels as they call it, you don't get cancer? Oh, okay, that's interesting. I wonder why not. Well, they found out that the amygdalin, which if you synthesized it would be Laetrile. So if you went to the Oasis of Hope Hospital in Tijuana, that's what they give you, Laetrile, but it's based on amygdalin, which is based on the kernel of the apricot. And so here's the cancer cell. Here comes B17. It's like a vitamin, if you will. And it comes down there, and when it comes in contact with the cancer cell, the amygdalin is made up of bazaldehyde cyanide and 2 molecules of water. Matter of fact, the bazaldehyde is more toxic than the cyanide. That's a mouthful. But when they come in contact with the tropoplast, they have a fast chemical reaction, ripping the protection off the oncogene, leaving it open to attack from the immune system. I take 10 a day. I grind them up in one of those bean grinders, you know what I mean? I put it in a little, in a glass, and I put some fiber, like Metamucil or something like that in there, stir it up and drink it. That will help you a great deal. Matter of fact, don't ever take what I say with anything without a grain of salt. Go out and investigate that for yourself. So it's methylene blue. You can take up to 0.5 grams per kilogram. Okay. And matter of fact, you could look, now that you're thinking about it, just go out and there's a good book about methylene blue, and it's around here somewhere. Anyway, but those things work better when you believe in the law of belief. It's called the placebo. Okay, 30% of all successful medical interventions in chronic metabolic disorders and even surgery are accountable to the faith the patient has in the treatment or the physician. It's called the placebo effect. You've heard it, the sugar pill, lower your fever, that type of thing. So if that is true, what could my subconscious do if I exercise my newfound law of belief? It's a famous story, and I don't believe in belief systems. I'm an atheist libertarian, which makes me about as popular as a reggae band at a Klan meeting. But another video again. So when you're uh, trying to assess what can I really do that I don't think I can do, and I found out that's a lot, big time. Right? There was a lady, and you could see scans. Like I said, I want clinical proof. I don't, you know, unless there's a million people telling me the same. Anyway, her optic nerves had atrophied to the point where she was blind, and unfortunately, the diagnosis and prognosis was grim, that she would never gain her eyesight again. Well, she was a highly religious woman, to say the least. Uh, Her faith in God was absolutely rock solid. So she went to Lourdes, France, threw the water in her eyes, drank the water. In 3 weeks, she could see shadows. Doctor said, "No, that's just your mind's playing a trick on." Well, shit. 6 weeks later, she could actually see well enough to walk down the street without a cane. And then her eyesight got to the point where she got glasses or something. But actually, and the doctor said, "That's not possible, man. That ain't possible." Well, who are you to tell me what the hell's possible and what's not when the lady now can see? How does somebody walk on fucking hot coals in their bare feet and not get burned? I put my foot there, I got a problem. Right? The neuroscientists say that the belief that they will not be burned shuts heat receptors off on a cellular level or some damn thing. These religious crazy guys letting snakes bite them and drinking strychnine, and it's like what you believe you can bring about. I want a $2 million mansion. Period. And that's it. That's the bottom line. 2 million. If it goes up, fine. That's my goal. That's what I want to get. But you have to have the belief that it's already done. See, my mansion's waiting for me. I just got to get there. You know what I mean? I just got to get there. And like I said, don't allow your past experience to mold you and to trap you in a prison of perception or ideology or something that you may not even subscribe to in the beginning. Right? Allow yourself the freedom to re-experience your life. Is this the way I want to act? Is this the way I want to? Is this where I want to be? Yeah, I guess a lot of people are okay with this house, right? And I'm glad I'm in it. But I'm glad when I'm out. You know what I mean? I want to sit by the pool and say, well, the quantum field paid off. The universe, smiled on me because I smiled at it. Right? I don't think unhappy, grumpy people can do well. There are certain guidelines, like, be a creator of your own life. That's a great way to judge what your future is going to be. Don't complain about something. You know how weak you look when you complain, right? And let life teach you things. Just don't take the negative from it, and that's all you get, right? I've made mistakes more than you, most likely. For example, you have to have a self-image. My self-image has always been, I'm responsible for what I do. I can't blame nobody. And this ain't been a recent revelation. This was like 35 years ago. You know, no one controls me but me. And I knew that then. I know it now. Trying to think of an example. Yeah. Okay. Say you fall in love with the wrong woman, right? And you love her, and of course, she has absolutely no interest in you. What a great idea to fall in love there, right? But well, we're all human. You can't blame the woman for not loving you back. It don't work that way. Okay? To be angry or upset with them or think less of them, they were just being themselves. You know? And even though, you get hurt and it hurts a lot and all that, it's not their fault. It is not their fault. You can't blame somebody for being who they are, even though it may come off cold-hearted or whatever. Because the moment you do, then you've given other people control over your life and your emotions. I don't want it. Right? What you think about yourself, here you hear this bullshit. Oh, Bob went over and terrorized his ex-wife at 4 o'clock in the morning drunk. And it's because he loved her. Bullshit. He don't love her. He's a fucking psycho. You know what I mean? So then you can free yourself from that. Now, I never really had that problem because when I was a kid, I had what was called schoolyard schizophrenia. Oh, that was fun. You had a minute for that. When I was a youngster, I heard voices. No shit. Heard voices, shadows moving, a little paranoia here, a little paranoia there. Uh, so the programming that I would normally had been subjected to it, and plus I got around to ninth grade and they threw my ass out of there. So I was, anyway, funny thoughts, funny thoughts. So I didn't have that training. I didn't have that. My childhood was who the fuck is mumbling behind the door, or what's the shadow, and uh, forgetting things. But I was glad when when I was in prepubescence and when I got to puberty, it really subsided a great deal. Even though even today it's probably a shadow on my personality of that influence. So I've been around. You know what I mean? I've been around. But here's the good news. The good news is now the evidence is here for you to digest, to mold it into a tool that will help you succeed in life. There's the old saying, if you're really grateful that what you got is okay. Huh? But whoever said the art of living, that was a great way to put it. The art of living, because you know what? It's an art. You don't do this life half stance. Matter of fact, on my other computer over here, I have a person who has learned to control his mind will find the very best friend he's ever had. Do it not, and the worst enemy you ever had is in your future. But here's a drawback, and I've got over it years ago, but it's a challenge. It's a challenge to be somebody else. Because if old Joe was old mansion Joe, I'd already be in the mansion, right? But the economy and all that bullshit. It was a prison built by prior experience and reinstantiated by bullshit. Well, I'm here to tell you, if you start working on the science of life, what influences me? What can I do about it? That's what I wanted to share with you folks, because like I said, 1,500 of you have accepted my friend request or back and forth, and I appreciate you. And I just hate to see so many people so desperately lonely, and like half the people in New York live by themselves. You know, there has to become wake up, cat. uh, so once you realize just how powerful you are, there is a joy of life. But don't let regret of the past nor fear of the future become thieves of the pleasure of the present or opportunities of the present. When you're young, in your 20s, maybe 25, 26, right? Average guy. Not crazy Joe. Average guy. You had a breakup with his high school sweetheart, and, you know, but his baggage is like a wallet. All right? By the time he hits 35 and got 2 divorces and his 30-day sobriety chip in his pocket, man, this cat's walking around with some suitcases, you understand? You're dragging your past behind you like a dead cat. Stop it. Stop it. When you get up in the morning, put a smile on your face. You know what? I really believe this. If you say I'm happy over and over and over for 3 weeks, you'll be happy. Prove me wrong. Right? Prove me wrong. Well, it's been a long time since I had put up one of these videos. But, I thought if you have information that might benefit your fellow Facebookers, why not? Just take a little time, and because what I've told you tonight and shared with you, it's taken me a while to gather that perspective. Most doctors study for 4 years. I've studied for 15. And I study every day, and also business and computers and this AI, man. You got to get into this AI. There's a ton of money. And AI, Midjourney, Kindle, Canva, SD. I have an SD store that's doing real well, so look into that. What else? What else? Well, I hope you have found some currency in this. But like I said, I just made this to try to help you out. Because if somebody who known me when I was in my 30s said one day Joe's going to own a successful internet company, I know what they say. I don't know what you're smoking, but roll me up one. Okay, well, till the next video, like I said, I hope you enjoyed it a little bit. I've been wanting to do this for a while. Business has kind of taken me off the radar. So, you're only as happy as you will allow yourself to be. And if you're not the person you want to be, it can change. You don't have to be a drunk. I used to drink professionally. I knew I had a drinking problem when I ordered a whiskey, and the bartender said to me, "We have no more liquor." Okay, I kind of got the idea. So you can get away from the bottle, you can get away from the drugs. The only reason you're doing that is to medicate yourself because you don't feel the joy of your life. Put that shit down, do a checkup from the neck up, take the methylene blue, fall in love with yourself. Have you ever remember when you fell in love? The time was different. You're just all jazzed up. You felt good, right? That's because love released oxytocin, which is a killer neurotransmitter. So love yourself, right? You really want to be broke and all that? No, okay? Listen to what I'm saying, but not just what I'm saying, but some of the people I've mentioned. Go read their books. I got them here. They're good. They're good. All right? Okay. Well, until next time, you take care of yourself, and I wish everybody the best of luck. And always think I got something more to say. Okay. Take care.